I'm here with the talented and beautiful Kat Johnson, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, for people who want to know what uncensored is my way of showing people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there who are dealing with any types of disabilities or any types of learning disabilities or disabilities. But you should never give up, and you should prove to people you can still mount to something no matter what. So that being said, half hour, 45 minutes of your time. Say anything you want, curse if you want to. By the way, I love your hair. It does a nice color on you.
Thanks. Appreciate
And
it.
with that being said, you can say anything you want, ask me anyone. Basically, it's a normal conversation, and you're making a new friend out of it.
Sounds great.
So with
So,
that, no, go ahead.
oh, please.
So starting off, I'm gonna ask you some easy questions. I'm gonna ask you some hard hitting ones. Gloves
Okay.
off. You can throw it back at me too. And what can you tell us about yourself?
Oh, I live in Los Angeles. I'm an actress. And like a lot of people here who are kind of building up their career, I also do some other work on the side, like clean houses and fun stuff like that. But right now, I guess my big news is that a couple of things. I just had a show open over the weekend with City Garage Theater, which is a theater company in Santa Monica I'm a part of. The play is called Lear, and it's sort of deconstruction of Shakespeare's King Lear, written by a playwright named Young Jean Lee, who is actually really popular in New York right now. And she considers this her best work. So we are the first theater to do it on the West Coast, which is pretty exciting. I'm playing Reagan, and I really am proud of the play. So I'm hoping people will come see it. You can go to citygarage.org for the details. And my other thing is a film that I was in called The Purgation. Is going to be released in some red boxes around the country. And it's a film by a director and writer named Elaine Chu, who's really amazing and is also a good friend of mine. And yeah, so that's what I spend my time doing most of the time.
Oh, that's really cool.
Thanks.
Now, before we get to ask you about the acting career, I will ask you that, of course. But when you were growing up, did you do any sports? Were you athletic? When you went to college, were you a study nerd, party animal, and what did you major in?
So high school, I was kind of involved in a lot of stuff. I played tennis. That was my only real sport involvement. But I was in some clubs. I did theater, and I would say I was a study nerd. I was in all honors classes, and I was the top of my class in high school. I got scholarships to college for that, where I double majored in theater and psychology at Muskingum University. It was called college back then, but now it's Muskingum University. And I also, at one point, I was a triple major. I was also studying German, but three majors is a lot of majors, so I cut it down to just two, and I have a minor in German, so I speak a little German.
That's really cool. You want to give us a perfect example?
A perfect example. So als ich zu anderen Leute, dass ich Deutsch sprechen, habe ich gesagt, dass ich habe es in die Universität studieren und dass mein Deutsch ist nicht perfekt. Not even close. I said my German isn't perfect. Aber ich habe es für 8 Jahre studieren und I, I try to practice it as much as I can. That I can't remember how to say, but and I recently a friend of mine and I speak to each other in German as much as we can. So I recently played a game of words with friends in German. That was pretty exciting. I won, but it was really hard.
No, are you part German or you just like the language?
I just like I just liked languages in general. Actually, I was put in German class because I turned my paper in late the day that we were choosing languages. So that they just put me in German, and I just found it really interesting. So I just kept going with it.
What language did you want?
I wanted to speak French.
Well, it's never too late to do that.
It's true. It's true. I learned a little Italian a long time ago. But this is appropriate for your show. The only word I remember is vaffanculo, which means fuck you.
I'm sorry, what was the French word again?
This is an Italian word.
I say Italian?
Yeah, vaffanculo. You have to do this with it. Like, necessary.
I have to remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what about the study nerd and party animal part?
Oh, in college, I was still a little bit of both. I mean, with three majors, that's a lot. I also worked in the theater, and I was in a bunch of clubs, like honoraries, and but I was also in a sorority. My school was really small; it was only 1,500 students total. So I would say that, and I at one point I want to say there was a majority of the population was Greek, meaning, in a sorority or fraternity Greek, not like, from Greece Greek. But so I did my share of partying. I had fun. I would say it was balanced. I still graduated with good grades. I still my scholarships were never in, jeopardy, but I definitely had a few all-nighter, good memory making nights a month.
I hear you.
Yeah.
What about growing up? Did you do any sports? Were you athletic?
I played tennis in high school. But other than that, not really. I rode my bike with my dad a lot, and I still do that here. I actually, for 3 years, didn't have a car in LA. So if you've ever been to LA, that's kind of a big deal because it's really difficult to get around without a car. We have public transit. I know you live in New York City, right?
Well, I live in New York State.
Oh, okay.
I'm more near, I'm 2 hours away from the city, so I'm near Woodbury Commons, West Point.
Oh, cool. Cool. Upstate's so beautiful. I love New York. Yeah, so I rode my bike a lot here. I've got a kind of like cool old bike that I like. But not super. It's more kind of an artistic, creative kid.
Hey. Oh, I have my dog on my lap.
Oh, hello, puppy. What type of dog is it?
Her name is Ms. Fifi, but let's call her Fifi.
Miss Fifi. She's poodle, yeah?
Yes, she's a miniature.
Cute. I love poodles. Poodles are supposed to be really smart.
Yeah, she's just sitting on my lap because she wanted to keep me company. And
Yeah.
she's recovering from her surgery she had this past Saturday.
Oh, what is she okay? Was it just sort of routine?
Yeah, we had to get her spayed.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's a good thing.
Right. Fifi, you want to say anything? All right. She's, well, her head's in the camera, so all right.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
So, growing up, did you ever want to be a professional tennis player, or?
No, I was not very good. I did it for fun. It's funny. I actually wanted to take dance classes my whole childhood, and then when my parents finally kind of were able to afford it, they gave me the option to find a dance class. And my cousin had just started playing tennis, and I found this flyer for tennis lessons, so I took tennis lessons instead. And it's something that I just kind of do for fun. It was never I was never close to being a professional athlete. I kind of always knew I wanted to be an actress, actually.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Now, last easy question I'm gonna ask you is: did you ever get the chance to do one of those human pyramids, or not a human pyramid, girl?
Human pyramid? Like, what do you mean?
Oh, like when you and a bunch of friends like climb on top of each other and form a shape of a pyramid.
Oh, have I ever done that? I feel like maybe my friends in high school and I might have tried something like that once, but I'm not certain. If I did, it's not a memory that like
Right.
sticks in my brain. Did you?
I always want to. I love that stuff. I know I'm a
Yeah.
loser.
No, not at all. That's super cool.
Hey, well, if you're
If I
interested,
could,
if you're interested, maybe we can do one.
maybe someday. Yeah, if we're in the same city, here we can do a virtual pyramid right now. Get on top of my hand.
Well, that's an idea.
Yeah,
Maybe in West Coast over the summer, but we see what happens.
yeah. We'll try it out.
The other last question I was going to ask you is, do you dye your hair different colors, and do you have friends with different color hairs?
um, yeah, I have a friend who has like a streak in her hair. Right now, I kind of, and I have another friend who sometimes dyes her hair crazy colors too. And yeah, I do dye my hair. I just think it's kind of fun. I know it's maybe not as versatile for like the business side of my life, but you know, sometimes you got to make choices just because they tickle your fancy. So that's why I do it. I think it's fun.
I hear you. Now I'm going to
Yeah.
pass the show over to you. You can ask me anything you want.
Okay. So I know that your show is designed to sort of showcase your, of course, ability to do whatever it is you want in life. So I would like to hear your background. I know you mentioned your disability was a learning disability. So tell me about that.
All right. Well, basically, I was labeled in the very beginning of my life, saying I was mentally challenged, mentally disturbed. Well, actually, this is what the school labeled me. The school I went to labeled me as mentally challenged, mentally disturbed, mentally retarded, um, handicapped, anything you can think of. And I went to a lot of therapy, talking therapy, emotional therapy, and everything
Yeah.
else. And basically, it was jammed down my throat for the past 28 years, saying, I'm handicapped, I'm retarded, I have a disability, this is what's expected of me, don't get my hopes up.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
that's
you know,
terrible.
it is. And I just got tired of using it, and one day I was like, fuck it. I'm going to show people that even with a learning disability, I can basically, for the longest time, I was using it as a crutch. Can't go to
Mm,
college, can't have a normal job, can't do this, can't do that. Fuck it. I'm going to
yeah.
show you that even with a disability, I can become something. Like Muhammad Ali, I'm going to show you how great I can be.
Yeah.
And I'm going to turn that into a weakness into a strength. Either I want to become an actor, a broadcast announcer, become a talk show host, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um,
That's awesome.
does anything in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest out of four brothers and one sister. So, one's a school teacher, the other one goes on tour, the other one is a poetry writer, the other ones do whatever. And I'm like, well, if they can do what to reach their dream jobs, dream opportunities, then I should do it too.
Yeah.
And even if they do or do not take it, but that's their story.
Yeah.
But recently my dad talked to my brother. He's like the one before me, so I'm the youngest, but he's the one before me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Oh, one of your brothers has contacts in the city. You want a job? You want to do this? You want to do that? Start your life. Go talk to him." Okay, what about me? Yeah, you're a different case. You're a different story. We don't know what to do with you. You're probably gonna end up in a group home. You're gonna probably be a burden from someone. And I was like, yeah, thanks a lot, asshole. So I don't,
That's so rough.
that's all I hear from my family. It's really freaking annoying. And so that's why, screw it. I'm gonna show you. You said I'm mentally challenged, I'm retarded, or whatever. This is my opportunity to show you I can still amount to something, no matter what.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, it's funny that you mentioned college because the school that I went to, Muskingum, actually has a program that accounts for and includes people with learning disabilities so that they can have, earn a college degree, but in a way that works with their learning style. It's called the Plus program. So if that was something, I mean, I know you're doing this, but if that was something you ever wanted to do as well, and they have broadcasting. When I left, they had actually just built a brand new facility in that. So it's maybe something that you could check out and consider if it was still something that you wanted to do. It's out there.
Yeah, we can always talk about it afterwards, but actually, what can you tell us about it? For our listeners who do have disabilities or who are interested, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, the school that I went to, like I said before, was Muskingum University. It's called University now, and that's Muskingum University. And the program is called the Plus program. And I mean, my knowledge of it doesn't go much farther than that outside of my classmates who were a part of the program, who were in the same classes I was in. I did an acting scene with a girl named Courtney who was a part of that program. Super sweet girl. We did a scene together in my acting class, and I think the one of the things they did to make it accessible to your learning style was to change the testing so that I think I can't think of the word I want to use, but one adjustment I guess they made was to allow people who need it to have as much time to, say, take a test as they need, to do it, rather than making it, oh, you have 2 hours, you can, or if you have dyslexia, they help with reading. I think for some people there might even be like individualized tutoring so that people can help incorporate the knowledge that they're gaining in classes into their lives in a way that's meaningful based on their, learning style.
Yeah, absolutely. I can spell words,
Sure.
but when I first see a word, like say, I don't know, if you can think of something, just
Cavity.
yeah, and he asked me how to spell it. I can't spell it even if my wife depended on it.
Uh-huh.
I suck at spelling.
That's okay.
And so I can't spell, but I can. If you tell me the word, if I can, I remember it, but I don't know how to spell it. We say. I think I'm. You were saying dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm a little of that because I can't really read. I read
Yeah.
at a third grade level, but
Mm-hmm.
I do read a little bit, but it's to a point where it could get overwhelming for me.
Sure.
So I'm not illiterate. I can read like an article or something, but there's a
Yeah.
certain word I just can pass that and you go back to it at a later time.
But I mean, you obviously are articulate or very articulate, so maybe reading isn't the way for you to acquire knowledge. I mean, do you ever maybe use like books on tape?
I learn more like hands-on.
Oh,
If
okay,
if you
cool.
teach me
Kinesthetic.
something like hands-on, that's how I learn.
Cool.
But if you just tell me something like, and I did this for my other interviews, looking for a book. Tell me, okay, here's history of the world. Read 1 through 50, and
Yeah.
I try. It's not gonna sink in. I'm not.
Right.
go in one ear and out the other, and you're basically going to waste your time and get frustrated. But if you take your time and sit down with me and break it down one over and 1, 2, 3 times, it's
Yeah.
eventually going to sink in.
Yeah.
Either it is or it isn't. But that's how I learn, Same thing with cooking. If I watch and copy, if you do it together, that's how I learn. If you do tell me do it yourself, basically it's gotta be like trial by fire. Either you're gonna get it or you're gonna have it blown up in your face.
Yeah, literally by fire since you're cooking.
Right.
Yeah. That's cool though. I mean, I think that a lot of people don't like to read history. And I know it's not to try to say to diminish your state of mind. Obviously, you have to understand how to work with your own your own skill set.
Right.
But I feel like maybe we could change the way that we teach kids and each other to make it more interactive and interesting, especially since that's the way our world kind of works now. I mean, things like infographics, which are like the pictures that teach you things, or my sister posted the other day a video of Japan's history that was just funny. Like, then this guy wanted to take over here, and so they had a fight. Yay! And and it was silly and funny, but that's what made it stick. That's why I remember bits of it, rather than just like Emperor whatever did this in 1787. Even though all that information was still there, it was presented in a way that was engaging.
No, absolutely. It's basically, it's all about, like, one reason I like talking to old people is I like stories.
Yeah.
And that's how I remember it. So if you make it fun and interesting and entertaining, it's got to be good. The Civil War, okay, North good, South bad. But that's fine. But then you talk about the Native American wars. Who gives a shit about that? What's it have to do with me?
Sure, the Native American wars?
It was not the Civil War. It was just something with the Indian War.
The French Indian War.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't care about that, so I went in one year after the other. My grandfather served in World War II.
Mm-hmm, so mine too.
Go ahead.
Oh, mine did too.
Oh, nice. Before I ask you what he did, I waited a whole year to learn about World War II. I was very interested in that because, like I said, your grandfather was in it and mine was in it. And that answers my next question. What did your grandfather do in the Army? Was he in the Army? Was he in the Navy, Air Force?
I want to imagine this particular job was part of the Air Force, maybe. He was an engineer by trade. He's 93 now, so he retired a long time ago. But he flew the weather balloons in Europe.
I know this is going to sound disgusting, but I don't mean anything by it. Is he still alive?
He is. Yeah. Yep. He's 93 now. He'll be 94 in April.
Would it be possible for you to put a good word in? I would love to have him on the show.
Maybe. Yeah. And actually, to talk about my history, it's funny that you should ask that because I actually haven't spoken with him in a couple of years, which isn't because we're estranged on purpose. But I guess my history, the hard part of my childhood was the fact that my mother died when I was very young.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. She had an aneurysm and she died suddenly. And that grandfather is her father. So after that happened, my family moved from Philadelphia, the Philadelphia area, to Toledo, Ohio, which is where I grew up. And even though we've kept in touch over the years, I sometimes fall out of touch with them for short periods of time. And I've actually been saying, I need to call them. I need to call them. I need to call them. Because I do want them in my life, especially since I mean, with so much wisdom at 93, and I know my dad's side of the family so well, and it's interesting to see, the similarities I have with that side of the family. And then my dad remarried about a year later, so and Anna, and her family is my family. I grew up with them. I've known them forever. I have a younger sister who is Donna's daughter. I'm the middle of five.
Right.
But my dad, yeah, my dad was married 3 times. He was divorced once. He was widowered with my mom, and then he's still married to my stepmom. So he's had like every marriage experience a person can have. Um, so yes, I will ask him. That'll be a good way for me to get back in touch, which is something I wanted to do anyway. So thanks for that.
No, I appreciate it. Now, I guess we met for a reason.
Yeah, I guess so.
And it's funny you mentioned engineering. My grandfather was in engineering too.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know if they were serious, but I always heard this growing up about building bridges and building bridges.
Uh-huh.
And when I was growing up, say, why was he building bridges in the desert? But I don't know if that was true or not. But I know he was in engineering, and he was based in North Africa, Italy.
Cool.
And a couple other places. But I remember North Africa and Italy. What about your grandfather?
I want to say France comes to mind, but I'm not 100% certain on that. I think France. I want to say he might have even been somehow involved with Normandy, but I'm not certain. When I was in school, I think I was in like maybe 5th or 6th grade, we were learning about World War II, and we had to do a project on somebody who was involved in it, like if we had any family members. So my dad encouraged me to talk to my pop about it, and I did. So all of this information is coming from my 5th grade report. So not all of it is still quite as, in there as it might have been otherwise. So, and it's not the kind of thing, since I don't get to see him that often, they're not stories that I've heard over and over again. But I remember. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah. But I remember the weather balloon because I always thought that was kind of cool.
The one thing I do remember, I saw recently, my grandfather did come back, he passed away, but he never liked talking about it.
Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know, because both of our grandparents were in engineering, maybe, hypothetically, they might know each other, or may not recognize the name.
That could be. What was, hold on, let me get a pen. I'll write your grandfather's name down and ask him.
Well, I won't do it on the air. I can tell you off the
air.
Yeah,
right. Fair enough.
I don't give out my real last name over the air. People just know me as Keith Andrew.
Sure.
Makes sense. That's my stage name.
Yeah. It follows. That makes sense.
Right. Now, with the last 6 minutes left, what can you tell us about your acting career? Who influenced you? How did you get started? And where do you see yourself going? We're wrapping up.
Okay. Well, I got started when I was in, I think the first play I ever did was in it was in elementary school. I was in a little class production of Little Red Riding Hood, and I got to play Little Red Riding Hood, and my mom made me this really cool cape, and it was, I felt really proud of that. And then a couple years went by, and in junior high, we had another class project to adapt The Outsiders and make a little play out of it. And we used grumpy old men as an example, and it was really fun and funny. And that sort of got the bug in me, I guess. Something so little, right? And I was in plays all through high school. I studied it. I even did like a an independent study where I put up kind of like a one-person show in high school. And I've just been doing it ever since. I studied it in college. I have an MFA in acting. I lived in New Orleans and did theater down there and some film. Um, I would say some of my favorite performers are, I love the generation that came out of the 70s with the independent film movement that happened then. Like Meryl Streep, of course, is like a goddess. And um, um, Anthony Hopkins comes to mind. I don't know if he's from that school, but he's, of course, fantastic. And, Taxi Driver and The Deer Hunter and all Dustin Hoffman is just like, for me, just really, I love that visceral, honest, grounded kind of storytelling. I also really love Julianne Moore and Kate Winslet and Kate Blanchett, and I'm more of a drama kind of person. I like the heavier stuff uh, because I think there's a lot of power that comes into that kind of storytelling. One of my favorite bits that I remember from college is that in ancient Greece, they used to bring prisoners out of prison to watch plays because they believed in the power that storytelling had to shift somebody's point of view of the world. And that's sort of what drives me to do the same thing. Um, and so since then, I've been acting for 20, I would say I was 13, 12 or 13 when I did that stuff in like junior high and early high school. And I've been doing it ever since. Like I've never stopped acting since then. So I've been acting for like 20 years. And I do some professional stuff. Like I do a touring children's show, an anti-bullying children's show for the past 6 years with a company called Soren Bennick Productions. It's called The Power of One. So anyone out there looking for a good show, the company's based in Canada, and they have teams of people doing the show all over the U.S. and Canada and the U.K. And it's this really like beautiful, empowering show that gets kids excited about treating each other well, which is meaningful, So I love doing that, and I came to Los Angeles because it feels like home, but also I really love film a lot. That's my, favorite. Being on set is like magic. It just feels like home. When I was in grad school was the first time I was ever in a film, and I did this film that was in like the top 25 of the Student Academy Awards. Thank you. That was pretty exciting to be a part of, and we shot about an hour and a half from New Orleans, which is where I went to grad school. And some of the people had worked on professional things before. This was my first shoot, and we had like a pretty large crew. UNO, which is where I went to grad school, the University of New Orleans, has a really good film program. So it felt like being on a professional set, and it just something clicked, and I was like, oh my God, this is how I want to spend the rest of my life. And I just knew it. It was like, this is like my home. Because of course I'd been doing theater, and I intend to continue doing it, and I love it, but there's just something about film that is just so magical to me. So that's what I've been doing here in LA. I've made a couple of films since I've been here. I'm shooting another one this summer, trying to leverage that into more paid work, which is a slow but steady process. So right. One step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, wrapping up the interview segment, I just want to say thank you for being a guest. Actually, before we wrap up, I want to go on the record and say when I first approached you, what was your honest opinion on me? And now, after doing the interview, what's your honest opinion of me now? If I can't even speak. So, what's your opinion
okay.
when I first?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So, what's your honest opinion when I first approached you, and now after we did the interview?
Well, I was kind of excited, to be honest with you. I've never had an interview before. That might be obvious. So it was really, I was honored that you sought me out and asked me, and I thought that it was very assertive and professional to do so through LinkedIn, which is how you found me for the world out there. I was impressed with you, and when you told me what your show was about, I found that really inspiring. I think that's amazing, and I was excited to help contribute to your success, which I hope that I am. So my impression was really positive. I felt really good about it, and I would say that that impression has maintained. You seem like such a lovely person and very warm and open, and um, like I said, I watched some of your interviews to prepare just to kind of get an idea of the feel of your show. And I love the intro to your show and I love all your graphics and I can see that you have a good grasp of storytelling. So kudos to you. Keep going. I'm excited for you. I hope that this just blows up.
I hope so too. I do a
Yeah.
lot of stupid things, that you probably know once we hang out or talk off the camera. That
Sure.
I do stupid things, but I don't do it to be like, oh, he's really a dick off the camera. When he does the interviews, he's really terrific, but he's really a dick off the air. I don't go out of my way to be an asshole.
Sure.
I have a lot of, going back to my disability, I have problems with my mannerisms.
Uh-huh.
So I don't do it deliberately. I may say stupid things or I may do. It's hard to explain. But, I'm a good person. I have a good heart. I swear to God, I'm a good person. I do the right thing. I do a lot of stupid things.
Who
But
doesn't though?
that's true. And a lot of people take offense to it. But yeah, I don't do it saying, how do I piss you off after the interview? I don't do that. I
Yeah.
just be myself. So if I come across like I'm an asshole or something, that's not my intention. It just it does happen. So a lot of people take offense to that. And it's like, yeah, I have a disability. So you have to work with me. It's not like I do things to just say I am what I am.
Yeah. But I feel like that's something that's universal in that we're all always learning how to interact with each other in a way that benefits everybody, right? And sometimes that's hard and sometimes that means that you accidentally hurt someone's feelings and then you learn to everybody shifts. They become maybe more understanding and you maybe change and I'm not saying you change, but like we adjust to each other.
I'll give you a perfect example, then we've got to wrap up.
Sure.
I came across this girl in a wheelchair,
Mm-hmm.
and we went to school together, and unfortunately, she knows my brothers, so that's gonna bite me in the ass. But, came across her page, I introduced myself, and the reason I go back to, I interview people from Munna Woodbury. Because,
Uh-huh.
either I talked to them before or I don't talk to them before. And that is, we didn't just hit it off. It says basically, I introduced myself, I told about the show, and I asked, will you be available this week, next week, yada yada, whatever. He's like, well, I'm going for surgery, and I added her on my professional page.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going for surgery. I can't do your interview anytime soon. I said, okay. And as I said to everyone else, usually I just block the person
Mm-hmm.
because I don't do it to be an asshole. I just block them because I don't want to say, well, this person looks familiar. Did I? Yes, he just messaged me yesterday. Or yes, he messaged me a week ago. So when I block the person, that says, okay, I asked you. I give you a perfect example. We went to school together and
Mm-hmm.
you said I don't want to be on your show, okay, I would block you, not because I'm an asshole, just it. So it sinks.
It's a mental filing system.
Yeah, that it sinks in that I don't want you to get the wrong impression of me.
Sure.
I give a lot of people. I don't want you to get the wrong impression of me. But okay, maybe in 6 months in a year, I can unblock you and go back and say, hey, remember a couple of years ago, I extended my hand to you. Basically, this girl took offense to it. Said, you're doing a wonderful thing too. It's like, you're an asshole. I told you I was going for a surgery and I didn't want to do your damn interview. What pissed her off actually was when I was bad too. I was sending everyone on my Facebook link of, I did a video of what is uncensored, what is the Keith Andrew Network.
I watched that video.
Oh, thank you. And I shared that with everyone, and she just said, what part of I'm going for surgery don't you freaking understand? I now I don't want anything to do with you. You're a horrible person. I blocked her. And I went to her on my personal page, and I said to her, I didn't add you on my professional page because this page, I don't know if you can hear my cat yelling at me in the background. The Keith Andrew page is for people who I interviewed, and it's just for people who I really like or try to get on the show, but it's basically just for people who I interviewed. So I tried adding her on my professional page, and she just went off on me, and she's a real bitch. It's kind of like, you see, she was accusing me of things, like, where is this even coming from? And it's like, I don't know, I just have that
But I think that's another one of those things, especially when we're trying to learn how to interact in this digital world. Because, I mean, even in dating, right? Like, I was reading some article the other day about how some girl was broken up with by being unfriended by her boyfriend, or no longer boyfriend. And I think it's easy sometimes to take those kind of actions personally and assume that something like a mass effort to get in touch with someone is just you hounding her. And maybe she just took it personally and she shouldn't have. And maybe she also was under a lot of stress because she was going through that surgery, which I have to imagine is terrifying. Surgery is a big deal. So, I mean, I'm sorry that you guys had that conflict. I'm sure that was really difficult. But here's hoping that it comes to some kind of peaceful solution or resolution.
Like I said, I go on record, I extend my hand in friendship to her, and I'm still am. And I apologize for the misunderstanding, but she just flipped out on me for no reason. There was no need to give me a hard time.
Yeah. And,
I'm sorry to bitch to you. I know you don't want to hear it.
I'm happy to listen. So, we're friends now, right? So, right. I do that for plenty of my friends.
Now, with that being said, wrapping up, how can your fans and your friends follow you on social media? Are you on LinkedIn, Stage 32, Twitter?
Yeah, I'm on. I've never heard of Stage 32. Maybe I should look that up. I'm on LinkedIn, Kat Johnston, and Facebook, same name, Kat K-A-T and Johnston with a T. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as BirdieKat82, so BirdieKat and the numbers 82. And I have an IMDb page, so you can look me up on IMDb. I'm also on IMDb Pro if anyone wants to contact me for that kind of stuff. So, and my personal website is KatJohnstonActs, like what I do, .com.
I appreciate it, and thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.